Hey everyone, it's Marla. I want to talk to you today about the summer solstice and do a little bit of an overview about what's coming down the pipeline in summer. Big changes ahead. I'm feeling it. I know that you guys are feeling a lot of things. I know that you're all getting a lot of messages. So let's see where we can um, connect ideas, confirm things for each other, and get a bigger picture of the huge changes that are coming down the pipeline for us all. So let's start with the summer solstice, which is on June 21st. The summer solstice is the longest day of the year, and it represents the sun moving into the sign of Cancer. So the first thing is that the Sabian symbol for the first degree of Cancer is on a ship, sailors lower an old flag and raise a new one. Okay, and this is obviously the Sabian symbol every year for the summer solstice. And every year we're going to interpret it a little bit different. But what I'm getting right now is this is representing that change, the shift that we're going through this summer and, really this year, but it's getting more and more intense. It's about us letting go of the old and embracing the new. We're having to move past our fears so that we can ascend. And we can see that at the time of the summer solstice, the sun is going to be coming into an opposition with Saturn, and that is going to be getting more intense as we move on. Now, the Cancer energy, which I talked a little bit about in my last astrology report, represents our patterns, our emotional triggers that we've developed over our many incarnations. So it's really like our gut emotional reaction to things when we get upset, or that old pattern that emerges when our fears are triggered, when our insecurity is triggered. So when we're dealing with the Cancer energy, we're needing to look at those old patterns. Remember, Cancer's the crab. It goes in its little shell when it gets hurt and hides. The shell is the protection. But where we're moving to, we've got to learn to take that shell off. And as I said, this year and this summer, we're taking the shell off. But in order to do that, we've got to look at those old patterns and how they're limiting us. And that is what Saturn is doing. The Sun and Saturn are forming an opposition and a T-square with Chiron as well. Now this is opening up our multidimensional aspects so that we can heal across timelines, but this aspect is also grounding new timelines. We went through Chiron square Saturn. Was it last year? I'm not sure if it was last year or 2016. Must have been last year. Sorry, guys. My mind's a bit foggy today. So, because I've got Neptune trining my sun with Jupiter. Anyways, so we were grounding new timelines before. That brought us through a lot of changes. Now this summer as well, we've got Chiron moving into a square with Saturn and grounding another series of timelines. The big thing about the summer solstice is that we're going to be having continued third eye activations, which we've been having since that portal opened at the Sagittarius full moon. These are going to continue. We're going through, a lot of expansion here in order for us to ascend, move beyond our previous limitations. Our clairvoyance is growing. Even those of you that have been clairvoyant for a while or your whole lives, you're likely to see your gifts upgrading. Those that have been asleep, they're waking up now. Everyone's third eye is being activated. Some of you may be going through processes where you're having to learn to trust in your intuition right now as your third eye is growing. As I said, the summer solstice represents the longest day, and that means overcoming darker energies, either through clearing those energies away or integrating those energies. Now we have this really cool configuration happening, and that is Venus conjunct the North Node and Mars conjunct the South Node, making this opposition. And there's a couple different things I see with that aspect. First of all, this is saying that we need to come from our heart. Venus on the North Node in Leo. This is about love and opening up our hearts, learning how to use that creative energy. Meanwhile, we have Mars getting ready to go retrograde next week, conjunct the South Node. This is showing us our fears and limitations. And we're having to look at our Mars energy, our inner masculine energy, to see how we're stopping ourselves from moving forward, how we're stopping ourselves from getting into our heart. Now, Mars we think of as the god of war, and strength, aggression, competition, fighting. But you know what? Mars also has a lot of ego. And Mars does not like to be vulnerable. And so, in that sense, our Mars energy can limit us because it stops us from taking risks. Sometimes Mars doesn't want to take that risk because it doesn't want to fail. He doesn't want to look bad. He doesn't want to take chances, and he doesn't want to be rejected by other people. Mars at times can be very passive aggressive. So Mars is stopping here at 9 degrees. At the summer solstice, he's at his station degree. And he's talking to Venus, and, they're saying, hey, you've got to go back, and you've got to see why you're not able to be vulnerable, why you're not able to open up. Because that's blocking our creative flow, and it's blocking us from moving forward in the ascension process, moving forward in our mission, moving forward in our ability to manifest. So that's what we're keying into throughout this Mars retrograde. Jupiter is squaring them, Jupiter in Scorpio. He's not going to make an exact square with Mars at this point because Mars is going retrograde, but I feel that Jupiter is assisting here because he's teaching us how to take our shadow elements and integrate them so that we can be whole and so that we can build upon our inner strength instead of being afraid to speak our minds and live in our truth. So that's the first thing. But on a more mundane level, this is going to cause a hard time for people in relationships. I did a reading for the collective the other day, and setting boundaries and ending energy draining relationships is very much the energy right now. And, Venus and Mars are opposing each other. So it's like they're in opposition with each other. They can't reach a compromise. So you're going to be seeing where you're not on the same page with other people. Primarily for twin flames, I feel like this is going to be for the karmic partners. And for some of you, even though you're not with your karmic partner anymore, you might still be facing old patterns from that time period. And then, Venus is at 8 degrees here, and she's moving on. She's going to be crossing a few days later the eclipse degree from January 31st, which was 11 degrees of Leo. This was the Aquarius lunar eclipse. And at that time, in my Rebirth of Divine Masculine, I was talking about the masculine disconnecting from their karmic partners and beginning to connect more with their divine feminine. And I feel that that was true, that happened. Even though not all the divine masculine came forward at that time, I feel like most of them were keyed into making a inner decision at that time, or it was like a turning point in their thoughts. And many of them at that time kind of made the decision to leave their karmic partners, but they don't know how. So they have been working on how to do that. And this aspect is going to intensify that. With our third eyes expanding at the same time. It's showing the truth of things, including the truth of relationships that people weren't seeing before. As we wake up, you're all aware of this, as we wake up, we begin to see things in a whole new light. And we're like, holy crap, I didn't even realize this was going on. So relationships are going to be seen for their truth. You're going to be shown where they're not in alignment. You're going to be shown where there's boundary issues. You're going to be shown those people that are energy vampires. And we're still working on communication issues as well. And with Mercury in Cancer, so our old patterns around communication being supported with a conjunction from Pallas Athena, seeing patterns through our third eye awareness in opposition to Pluto. What are these buried subconscious psychological issues around communication? What are my wounds around speaking up and being heard? So those are some of the things that you'll be dealing with. Then on the 28th of June, we have a Capricorn full moon. It's going to be at 6 Capricorn, conjunct Saturn. So again, just like with the solstice, the sun has moved further into Cancer. We're still working on those old patterns, those old emotional triggers, and the moon conjunct Saturn is going to illuminate some of those fears and limitations. And likely a lot of those are going to be around authority figures. And I'm also getting that it's going to be around failure too, perhaps taking a risk on certain things because of a fear of failure. There's a trine occurring with Mercury, Chiron, and Karma. So again, working with those communication issues. Maybe I wasn't clear before when I was talking about Venus crossing the eclipse degree from February, and how I was saying that it had come to me back then that a lot of the masculine were going to be thinking about leaving their karmic partners. And so Venus triggering that degree, I feel, is bringing up the energy from that eclipse in an intense way along with the other configurations. It's kind of like, okay, look, you're still kind of in that same spot. How are you going to shift yourself to get out of this? So then on July 12th, we have a solar eclipse in Cancer. This is a new moon solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Cancer. This time it's an exact opposition to Pluto. So as we deal more with those emotional triggers, we're going to be working with our buried subconscious fears. Mars is getting closer to his second exact conjunction with the South Node and squaring Uranus. That Mars-Uranus square, I feel, is going to be intense. And so, remember I said a couple weeks ago when Mars was conjunct the South Node, this is what's going to come up again. Well, likely those same issues are going to be coming up to continue to show you what it is you need to see, what your karmic patterns are. Because we've got to release these things, especially as we get towards the end of July. Just thinking if there's anything else I want to say. I don't want to talk too much about that full moon. Okay, then July 27th, the Aquarius lunar eclipse. If you saw my Sacred Union reading the other day, I talked about that I kept having a vision of a storm, and that I was told the number 27 along with it. And I feel it's actually an opening between July 27th and August 27th. But it could be this date because I feel like this eclipse is going to be pretty transformative. And this eclipse also connects to Lunasa and the Lion's Gate. Lunasa is the pagan festival between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox, and it represents the festival of the sun god Lu. It represents the harvest time. And then, of course, we have the Lion's Gate opening. So these are three very transformative energies happening. Lunasa is generally celebrated it's usually celebrated on August 1st, but traditionally it's 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after. It represents the first of the harvest festivals, and the Lion's Gate, people think about has 8-8, but the Lion's Gate is a much bigger portal. I feel like this day, July 27th, is going to be the opening of the Lion's Gate. But I could change on that. So what we have going on here, how I'm feeling this energy coming in with this eclipse, and it's 1:44 on the clock, by the way, right now. How I'm feeling this energy is that we're healing separation with this portal of energy. And if you remember when I did my card reading, my Sacred Union reading for the Gemini new moon, and I talked about, for the feminine, the card came up, energy of place, and it said the answer is in your question, And then I was looking back at that reading, and then I had the unity card from Yeshua for where the union energies were headed. And I had that 3-1 card from the Journey of Love deck about the masculine and feminine combining to make the third energy or the creative force. And I was like, okay, duh, that is what the energy coming in is representing, is we're healing this element of separation and we're reaching union. Now, I say that by meaning union with all things. And we'll talk about individual unions in a minute. But it's more about shifting our consciousness to the idea that we're all one. Letting go of the idea of separation. And it's our mental image of separation. It's our thoughts that we're in separation that keep us in separation and keep us from union. So yeah, major shift in our consciousness. The timelines changing. The old timelines are ending. New timelines are beginning. I know some people are saying that it's the end of the 3D. There's different ways that you can look at it, but definitely a huge ascension portal. And seeing things with a totally new vision, seeing that you're much more than you thought you were, opening more to your true self. It's time to let go of the fears. Okay, that's what I mean by we're ascending because at this eclipse and the energy portal that's being created through these incoming energies, the combination of them all, we're allowing ourselves to let go of control of everything, to flow better. And it's not that we're not going to have fear. Okay, we're always going to have an ego. We're always going to have fears. But we're learning to move through the fears, to allow the fear to be there while also being able to maintain our higher dimensional consciousness. It's like we no longer let the fear pull us down. It's like becoming much more multidimensional. And how each person sees their increase in their multidimensionality is going to look different. But it's allowing us to clear away the old karmic stories and to ground those new timelines. Many of you are going to be ready to move into a new reality. Many of you, already have moved into a new reality, and that's going to get stronger. Remember, the last time I did the video, I also talked about an elevator. They showed me an elevator, and it's like, where do you want to get off? It's like you have a choice of what timeline you want to create. I'm also feeling at this time there's going to be base chakra activations. So it's going to be some challenges going on, okay, because of the major karmic clearing that's going on. If we look at this chart for a minute, here's the sun conjunct the north node. It's only 1 degree of separation. And the moon conjunct the south node and also conjunct Mars. And again, we have Uranus squaring both of them. They keep showing me an image, but I don't know how to really describe it to you guys. But it's like we're just getting like ripped out from where we were and raised up. We also have this configuration. Okay, we still have Chiron and Saturn squaring, grounding the new timelines, but look what's coming into aspect with them. Asteroid union. So we're creating new timelines regarding our unions. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of karmic releasing going on with this full moon, and that's going to be challenging. So you could be feeling things around your safety, security, those are base chakra issues. But you are being protected, so just know that whatever comes up, it's just helping you to release. Try not to control things, flow with the energy, work through the fears. Some of the challenges that will come up will have to do with relationships. Some relationships are going to leave and some are going to begin. And that that can be with anyone. Don't just limit these things to your twin. I feel like there's a bit of a shuffle going on where we're mixing with new people. But as far as twins go, I do feel that it's a time where some twins are going to start reconciling with each other. They'll start getting in touch with each other. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be in union in one day, but you might start hearing from your twins. There might be an acknowledgement of love. There could be a pull towards each other. And I think that we're all opening more to love, wholeness, balance through this portal. And I'm showing you guys the charts of, the astrology charts. But these energies aren't one day. These energies are just flowing together. Another big thing that's coming up through this portal is forgiveness. And this is going to remain important as we head to the autumn equinox. Being able to forgive is helping us make that shift to the higher dimensions, and it's also helping us move towards unity consciousness. Then we're going to have a solar eclipse on August 11th, right at the heart of the Lion's Gate, 81111. And the sun and moon are also on 18. And I've been doing some work on some numbers that I might post about on Facebook in a day or two. And 1 and 8 combinations are showing that we are connected to the infinite field of possibilities. So I'm loving that date and the degree of the new moon. I'm just wondering if there's anything that I really need to talk about on this one. I think I'm going to leave it. And then we get to the autumn equinox on September 22nd. There are some moons in between, but like I said, this is just going to be an overview. This energy is going into September. And This is when the sun is going to move into Libra. This is when we have equal day and nights. So there's going to be more balance coming in. By the time we get to the end of September, we're ready to take more risks. We're ready to let down our guard. We're ready to remove our masks a little bit. Again, we're feeling more passion, more zest for life. We are in touch with our strength more, and many people are going to be moving on. Continuing to let go of the past, continuing to free ourselves from our fears and limitations. I feel by the time we get to the equinox, we're ready to be true to ourselves. Our abilities to manifest are going to be getting much stronger. The energy of forgiveness, though, does continue to be a theme. Forgiveness is going to help you heal your karmic issues and embrace union. And by this point, by the end of September, Mars is direct. Mars goes direct on August 27th. That's why I was feeling like the energy between July 27th and August 27th. And there is a full moon on August 26th, which I feel will be the closing of the Lion's Gate. That's going to be the most intense, but it's going to be keeping up. That energy will still be rolling. As I said, it's not just on the day of the moon. This energy is just building. And so by the time we get to the end of September, Mars is coming into his third and final conjunction with the South Node. And I feel the divine masculine energy is more open at this point. They're more ready to be true to themselves. They're more in their hearts, and they've made choices, and they have a direction on how to move forward. And during this time, everybody is on a slightly different timeline. But all during this time, there's going to be shifts in union. A lot of the divine masculine are going to be manifesting in combination with the divine feminine, manifesting what is needed to break any karmic relationships, if there are any, or any karmic situations, whatever it is that's creating an obstacle to shift those things. As I said, many people will be hearing from their twins. And that will continue to grow. Again, there's like a tipping point, because I see it like, the divine masculine, they're already trickling back. Many people have had shifts in their union, but it's getting more and more. And the more and more that come together, it's like the energy's building. It's going to create a tipping point at some point. And again, shifts with people in your life in general. But yeah, and I think around this time, the masks, people's masks will really be starting to fall away. Because it's going to be getting to the point where we just have to live our truth. And leave the past behind. Leave the fears behind. Move forward. For some of you, connecting with your new timelines, it's probably going to involve you taking a risk. So see the things that you're working on for the next couple months as helping you get to that spot where you're willing to take the risk. So I'll be coming back, obviously, to talk about each of these moons and eclipses. I'm going to do another video separate from Mars retrograde. And we'll get more detail as we go along. So thank you so much, guys. I love you, and I will talk to you soon.